In this episode of the Horror Headquarters, The Substance is so much more than a movie. The gore in this film was absolutely horrendous, but I understand it all. It's crazy because this is exactly how Hollywood works, especially today. I did not know that happened to Demi Moore. Welcome, Nightlings, to episode 9 of the Horror Headquarters. This is season 2. My name is Hassan Shamu. Welcome in. Hope you guys are all doing well. Now, as you can see by the title of this episode, we are discussing The Substance, a 2024 film starring Debbie Moore and Margaret Qualley. Both of them absolutely phenomenal. Now, this film did release in theaters in the beginning, and it's beginning to make its way onto streaming services, but it basically tells the story of a woman that creates a younger version of herself in order to maintain her job as a yoga instructor slash exercise instructor in front of a big screen that's very popular. Now, there's so many similarities that I find from this film to reality today, to how Hollywood works, being that I am someone that's constantly doing auditions, someone that's watched so many films, that's learned about the atrocities and the horrific things that have happened to actors and actresses alike due to their looks, due to their weight, due to their presentation. And this film does such a beautiful way of presenting that in a way that makes it really depressing, but at the same time, it has a great lesson at the end of the film, and really throughout it, but you really see the emergence of it when you reach the end of the film. Now, if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, let me give you a picture. If a woman has wrinkles, if a woman looks like her beauty is quote unquote fading, if she looks old, she's sagging, she's walking differently, then that's when replacements come in. That's when Hollywood suddenly sees, okay, this person's no longer going to be in any of our shows. We're going to take her out, like her career is over. And crazily enough, this is exactly the way that Demi Moore felt like before she took on this role. She stated in her Oscar speech that she was hesitant to like even do any more acting, that she felt like her career was over, being that 20, 30 years ago she was told by a director or producer that she was a popcorn actress, which basically means they only look at you like for a film, like one or two films, like a one-hit wonder. They really don't care about you. If you don't know what a popcorn actor or actress is, definitely look it up because it's so degrading. Hollywood has always been extremely degrading towards women, and unfortunately still is today. And it's not just women, it's obviously, of course, men as well, but just seeing the different things that women have to face in the media when they're asked about how they're fitting into certain outfits, like the certain diets they're going on. I mean, just taking Scarlett Johansson, for example, when she did Black Widow, everyone asked her if she was wearing undergarments, if she was on a special diet, like how does it feel to be the most sexy in the cast? And like, these are so rude. And some of you guys might think there's something wrong with that, but unless you're in the spotlight, unless you're doing these roles, it's so disgusting for someone to ask you these kind of questions, and it's extremely degrading. And when people comment on people's bodies, such as Ariana Grande or Celine Dion or Angelina Jolie, and they say they're too skinny, oh my god, they're on freaking pills, they're taking that disgusting thing that everyone keeps bringing up anytime they see these people that look skinny. Thank god I forgot it. I don't even want to remember it. But they all say that they're on some kind of thing to lose weight, and it's just so upsetting because, you guys, healthy looks different. Healthy looks different for every single person. Unless you're a biology major, a proper biology major, or some kind of doctor that actually knows what the hell they're talking about, don't even start with me. Because I did 5.5 years of this, and we learned that healthy looks different for everyone. It has to do with genes, it has to do with your diet, it has to do with the way that your body is created. And as long as you're eating healthy, no matter what you look like, then you are all good. Obviously, if you look a certain way and you're not eating properly, then that's a different story, but at the same time, it's none of your business. And this is like things that The Substance touches on. Like, for example, there's a scene where Debbie Moore continues to put makeup on her face. She continues to drench herself on makeup because she bumps into one of her old classmates and he wants to ask her out. He says, like, she looks so beautiful, but the thing is, she doesn't feel beautiful. So she puts on all this makeup and she continues adding and adding and adding she's getting really close to like 7 p.m. where she's supposed to meet with this guy, and she ends up not going. She goes to the mirror, she rips off all her makeup, and she like basically like starts ripping at her face, and she's so disgusted with the way she looks, and she ends up making like really crass decisions, and it just was for me a very emotional scene to watch because I know that's how so many people out there feel, and it really just hits me really deep in my heart because, like I said, this film has so many important lessons and how like controversial for some reason beauty is, especially in the Hollywood industry, and how if you're not to a certain extent, if you don't look a certain way, if you don't wear the certain type of makeup, if you wear undergarments, if you wear a certain dress, a low-cut dress, you're ridiculed by the media, you're made fun of, and it's especially present when it's discussing females. Now at first, Demi Moore's character, she was hesitant to start the substance, which is basically the serum that creates a second version of yourself, but younger and prettier and more perfect. Basically like the perfect version of you, but a younger version. So this is what happens, and she ends up going for it because she's sick of being ridiculed and being replaced. So this younger version of herself starts off by not taking advantage, but then as like the weeks pass by, she doesn't want to go back to being ugly and disgusting. That's how Demi Moore's character is perceived by the younger version. So every week they're supposed to switch out bodies, but the character played by Margaret Qualley, who is the younger version, decides no, I'm gonna keep taking more life from this older version, and I want to stay like this for the rest of my life. And this just ends up backfiring, especially for the character played by Demi Moore. And she starts like aging in certain areas. Like one time, like her fingers looks like 300 years old. It's like all pink and purple and black, and then like other things start to fall apart. Like her face gets all weird, her ears, her hair falling out, all these different things start happening, and there's so much poetic justice behind it. Like you think about how we drain ourselves, how we're constantly perceiving ourselves as ugly, and we're only destroying our own selves. Because if you think about it, it's her own self that ages her. It's her own thoughts that are destroying her from the inside because she doesn't love the way she looks. And aging is supposed to be this beautiful thing, but in Hollywood, or especially in like today's day and age, like it's looked at as a bad thing. Like you should stay one way for the rest of your life, which absolutely makes zero sense. And if we don't love ourselves, then we're gonna continue to destroy ourselves from the inside out. So I think it's very important when looking at this film, if you guys have watched it or not, to look at the deeper meanings behind it, because I think Demi Moore touches it perfectly. Like if you see, like a lot of times when she's walking, you don't see her walking from the front. You see her walking from the back, just her back and up. And I feel like the director made a decision is because like that's how Demi Moore feels. She feels absent. She feels like she doesn't want anyone to see what she looks like. She's constantly hiding herself because she thinks she's ugly. And the only time you really see herself leave the house is to go get a refill on the substance in order to continue to looking younger in this other version of herself. But like I said, it backfires. There's one time at the end of the film where the character, the younger version, has like this big New Year's Eve party where she's supposed to be performing, and she's like out of serum. Like I told you, she's taking so much serum from the older version, so her teeth start falling out, all these different things start happening, but she's too afraid to do anything about it. So she's like trying to keep it together, but everything starts falling apart, and she tries, this is crazy, she goes back to switch to Demi Moore's body, and in doing so, it doesn't go well. And Demi Moore is like horrible, like she can barely speak, it's like really bad. So what Demi Moore does, Demi Moore, I cannot speak, sorry, is she takes the original substance, which is only supposed to be a one-time use, and she injects herself with it again in order to create another younger version of herself. It was said in the kit that this can only be used once to dispose after use, so she broke the rules there. So she injects herself again. And this other version she creates is this monster, basically something with like 3 different faces. You have like something behind her that has like its mouth wide open, it's like in pain. You have 3 different ears. Like, it looks like a monster, a disgusting monster from some different kind of planet. So what she does is she rips out a picture of her old self when she was like all popular and famous, and she like tapes it to her face, I think with like super glue. And she ends up going to this event, and like everyone's like, okay, perfect, you're here, let's get this moving, without even realizing that she's changed, that she's not Margaret Qualley anymore, like this younger version of herself anymore. And I feel like the reasoning behind that is we hide behind this like perfect smiley face at all times, especially in Hollywood. We think we're always happy, but in reality we're broken from the inside. We're like depressed, we're falling apart, but we have to put on a smile. So she ends up doing this whole performance, and like everyone's like confused with what's going on because she can't speak. She can like barely speak, and if she does, it's like muffled. So she's speaking in this microphone in this big dress. Like I said, she's not this skinny person anymore, like perfect figure. And then that thing she taped to her face rips off, and it falls, and everyone just stares at her, starts screaming their lungs out. And what happens is she's like trying to tell them like, no, no, it's me, please don't freak out. Everyone's panicking like, it's a monster, it's a monster. And she explodes. And as she's exploding, there's different parts of her body that are exploding. And it's kind of like that scene in Carrie where blood drops all over Carrie. But in this one, the blood is going all over the people in the audience. So it's kind of a message like the blood is on the hands of all these people that have been telling her she has to be perfect. And they created this monster, this amazing person that there was nothing wrong with her, but of course society and people have to tell her, yeah, there is something wrong with you, you have to change. And that's why there's like all this blood's going everywhere. It was so nasty, and I've seen the behind the scenes of this, like of this particular moment. They actually did it, like they sprayed the people in the audience. I don't, obviously it wasn't blood, but with this red dye, and it looked like blood. I'm like, oh, I would throw up instantly if I was in that audience and that was happening to me. Absolutely not. So what happens is basically Demi Moore, all that's left is her head. And she's like this little, like, I guess you could say like a jellyfish. She doesn't have any like legs per se. It's kind of like a starfish and jellyfish, and she's like struggling to move. And where she goes is back to her Hollywood star. So in the beginning of the film, what's shown is the Walk of Fame star, you know, like where they have the floor in Hollywood. They have all the stars, and they have her star when they first put it in, and it starts to like degrade over time. Like people drop food on it, there's people that walk over it, and it like starts to crack and like get really damaged. So it's like deteriorating over time. And it's kind of a representation of how actresses and Hollywood actors feel when they are taken up by society, when they're destroyed by other people's thoughts and by their own perception of themselves due to society. So she goes back to the star, and she stays there, and then she explodes one more time, and she's cleaned up by this like garbage guy, you know, like those little sweeps that clean everything up automatically. That's what sucks her up, and her life is over. But there's so much beauty, especially in that last scene when she goes back to that star, is because you see she's finally accepting herself. She's finally saying, no, you know what? I'm beautiful. I love myself the way I am. And she dies knowing that she made the right decision. But obviously she made so many wrong ones before, but she's ending it on a note of, you know what? I don't care. I'm beautiful. I'm gonna love myself regardless. And I would love to take this moment to read you guys my letterbox review. Now, I'll be linking my letterbox in the description below of like my previous podcast as well as the future ones, but this is what I wrote, and I gave The Substance, by the way, 4 stars, and I put, let them eat cake. This film was insanely done, extremely gory, but it's the perfect representation of Hollywood standards, especially when it comes to women. The acting of Demi and Margaret is phenomenal. The film itself was well directed and had many hidden meanings that stacked into a masterpiece. Again, very, very gory and disturbing, but very well fitting with how social media, Hollywood, and fame works. And that ending reminded me of Carrie and Smile 2 combined. Now, I haven't done a review on either of those movies, but if you've watched them, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, both of those films combined is how that ending worked. And it's just really upsetting to look at that film and realize this is the reality. This is the sad reality of how the world works today. And especially for people that are in the limelight, that are in, like, Hollywood, that are going through this. And now, obviously, I'm not at the level that so many of these actors and actresses are, but I've dealt with my own demons, my own monsters. Like, the social media aspect of it all really is draining, and you try to ignore it all, but you feel like the hate is so tremendously loud and large, and it becomes nearly impossible to ignore it all. And I hope that I'm mentally and physically prepared for all of that, because I've come to a point, hopefully, I'm saying this and I hope it's true, that I'm comfortable in my own body, I'm comfortable in my skin, but I know that as soon as I'm out there in the limelight, people are gonna make fun of this and that and like nitpick you apart like you're not human, like you don't have emotions, which is exactly what happens to so many people, especially, like I said, women. Now, there's one character or a bunch of characters that I've refused to discuss, and the reason is because this character is played by Dennis Quaid, or Dennis Quad, one of the two, I'm sorry. He did so good of representing how these Hollywood execs work, how people, producers, directors, people with all this money, these millionaires, billionaires, work when someone is beyond their prime, like they're done and they're just trying to get rid of them, but like in an easier way, like try to make an excuse for them. And that's exactly what this character does, but he hides it from Demi Moore. Because in the beginning of the film, he goes into the bathroom and he's like on the phone saying like she's nasty, she's ugly, she's old, and she's wrinkled. We have to replace her. I don't care if she gets upset. I don't care this and that. She's gone, and like everyone's gonna love these new people. Like what I tell you. And Demi Moore was listening that whole time. She was in the stall because the woman's bathroom was closed, so she overheard it all. And that's what like really hit her in the gut, and that's the reasons why she decided to start The Substance, was because of how other people were talking about her, how she was being perceived, especially by the own director and producer that she had known for so long. They can switch on you so quickly. So I'm hoping to anyone that ends up watching this film or has watched it that you guys can take away at least one lesson, and that is be kinder. Be nice. Don't be so rude, especially if someone's in Hollywood and you have no idea who they are personally. You have no idea what someone's going through. You don't know the demons and the trials and tribulations that they're fighting. So please be more respectful and more empathetic. I think this one really allows for empathy to be opened up, especially in a world like today. So please be kind, you guys, be respectful, and take care of yourself, and don't be so overly critical of yourself, of others, and quit judging people you have no idea about. If you have no idea who someone is, I don't care if you're the biggest fan of a celebrity, you have no idea who they are. So stop acting like you do. I think something that really aggravates me is when someone's like, no, they have to address their body, they have to discuss what's going on with themselves, they have to clear this up. I'm like, they don't have to do anything. That is none of your business. That is between them and whoever the respective party is. So please keep your nose out of other people's business, you guys. And I know I'm talking about Hollywood a lot, but this is really what this film revolves around, is around how people in Hollywood are treated. If they're popular, if they're famous, if they're just getting into the limelight, they're consistently being ridiculed, teared apart, like literally ripped into shreds and put back together in the way that society feels fit. No, that's not how it works. And whenever I become famous, if that ever happens, I hope it does, but in a way that feels comfortable and like livable, I am not going to degrade myself for other people, and I hope I live up to that, because being like I said that I've experienced so much of it, I have never chained myself once, and I've experienced a lot of this, especially from people that are even in my own like bloodline, and I'm just like, nope, I'm not going to change myself for you, because when I was younger, I was like, maybe I have to change, maybe I have to fit into the norms that society's setting up. No, you don't. Oh, and there's one more scene I want to bring up. When Margaret Qualley and Debbie Moore were going in that like banter, that huge fight in like the middle, like towards the end of the film, I was on the edge of my seat, because that was extremely, extremely intense. And wow, the amount of lessons that just shows the viewer is insane. And that's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to spoil it further than that, but when you guys watch that scene, you guys are gonna be like, wow, that was really, really good. This marks the end of the 9th episode of the Horror Headquarters, you guys. I hope this inspires you to hopefully go out and watch the Substance, whether that's at home or in the theaters, because it's a very important film, especially if you're someone that's constantly hating on a certain celebrity or actor, or just someone in general, whether it's someone in your family. You have no idea what someone's going through, and I feel like this is going to open that perception if you are open to learning and to growing. I'm sending so much of my love to California with all these wildfires happening right now. It's absolutely devastating. I'm also sending my love to everyone overseas in Sudan and Gaza and Congo and Haiti, to everyone that has been experiencing this for years and years. The world is on fire, the world is suffering, and I just want peace and love for everybody. And with that, you guys, tread lightly and pray for forgiveness. Midnight hour is approaching.